So the first thing I want to ask you is just your name and your position.
My name is Gerald West, and I am Professor of Old Testament Hebrew Bible at the School of Religion and Theology at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.
And you're the director?
And I'm the director of the Ujamaa Center for Community Development and Research.
And you're probably the sort of the primary intellectual architect of what we're up to here. So what are we up to here?
Jim, I think as the Ujamaa Center works with local communities and we, in every community we work with, we ask them to identify the issues that they're struggling with within their communities. And we began when the struggle was apartheid, racial discrimination, class, and we have journeyed with the communities as the issues have changed. Issues of gender violence, issues of HIV, issues of unemployment, beginning issues, environmental, ecological stuff coming up, issues of masculinity, and then in recent years, issues of sexuality, and particularly homosexuality. And our commitment is always to work, we say we work with knowledge from below, with analysis from below. So we work with the marginalized communities from their own epistemological, from their own knowledge base, from their own starting point. But we work with them to find liberating and transforming ways for the Bible. So we've been challenged by as we have by all communities, to engage with them, to respond, to serve them. And gay and lesbian networks have begun to challenge us. And it's come in different ways. The Archbishop Ngane, John invited us some years ago to run a consultation. And that gave us an opportunity on a much bigger scale to think of how we would work with churches and gay and lesbian networks, and then with the resources we have, the Bible and other theological resources. But for us, the fundamental challenge has come from local communities of ordinary gay and lesbian Christians, many of whom have intersecting marginalities. You know, they're also black, they are women, they are poor, they are unemployed, they're HIV positive. So it's not one thing. And that's very important for our work, to recognize the intersections of marginalizations, if you like. So we've yearned to be able to kind of develop this work, but we overstretched as it is. We can't meet all the demands made on us, and we don't have the resources to do it. And so our funding tends to come around issues of HIV, around gender, and to some extent around economic issues. That's where the bulk of our funding comes. So we've got to, in a way, put our resources into that. Which is why I mentioned the opportunity given by Archbishop Nkulu, because he had some resources for us to focus in on issues of sexuality. And that was fantastic, but we just weren't able to develop it. So when the Arcus Foundation approached us and asked whether we would be willing to work with the Chicago consultation, this was like a dream come true. You know, here would be an opportunity to extend our partnerships to the United States. We've never ever had funding from the United States. I think the kind of work we do is perhaps seen as a little too radical, and so funding partners have always backed off working with us as Ujamaa. So here was someone who had actually sort of approached us. We could hardly believe it, you know. So we were very excited. Of course, I knew the Chicago consultation, and I'd met you personally at Lambeth. And so I thought, well, this is just amazing. You know, we develop a new partnership with colleagues in the United States and their struggle around these issues, and we link that to our struggles. You know, and the commitment within Ujamaa is to read the Bible in community, and that community should include others, so that the voice of the other can help us understand our own context and help us to be critical of our own context and our own resources. So the partnership with the Episcopal Church was genuine for us. We really thought this was an opportunity for us to put our struggles together and learn from each other. So it was just amazing. We really just couldn't believe that this is something that we could begin to plan for.
We've been, well, you perhaps less than me, but the number of people from all over Africa who have been willing to accept the invitation surprised us a little bit. Are you pleased about the kind of breadth of representation here?
I am. We worked very hard to use the networks that we've got, both Ujamaa networks, church networks, whatever networks we could, to identify the kinds of people who would be willing to come, who were open, and who would be willing to take back resources, experiences, relationships from this encounter into their own context. People who could make a difference. And so it was a very intentional process of identification. It took a long time. It was very consultative, but incredibly wonderful. You know, I don't think there's anyone here that doesn't really want to be here. We don't have people here who are here because, well, it's their turn or they represent something. They're here because they want to be here as individuals. And that is very special. We have some people we would like